Hello and welcome to Cooking Your Way Through Life.
Today's episode is Cooking Your Way Through Adaptability. And today's culinary side is adapting in the kitchen as a personal chef and as a home cook.
Cooking Your Way Through Life is a podcast combining knowledge of the kitchen and applying it to real-life situations. This podcast is all about understanding techniques to make things you already know even better. Topics from traveling on a budget, setting and achieving short and long-term goals, and of course, cooking.
On today's episode, we're going to dive into how can you adapt, and can you adapt? Is it something that you're good at, or maybe it's something that you need to work on? Also, we're going to talk about adapting in the kitchen and some of the struggles that I've had as a personal chef, and I'm going to give you a little homework as a home cook if you want to do it at home as well.
Please welcome Chef Hollywood.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cooking Way Through Life with me, Chef Hollywood. And today we're going to talk about adapting because it's something that I excel at. I would say out of skill, but maybe out of necessity. But that's neither here nor there. We're good at it, so that's always a plus. But yeah, sometimes it's just one of those things where adapting is hard to accept because sometimes we don't want to accept it and we look at it as a defeat and we feel like if we adapted at something then we failed at something else or we let ourselves down in a way, but that's not always the case. So I want to talk about adapting in your life, adapting in your professional life, adapting in your personal life, and then also adapting in the kitchen because I feel like the reason why I am so good at adapting is honestly because I'm a chef and I have had to adapt to some very, very interesting, I would say, situations, especially as a personal chef. That's just very, very tricky here and there. So let's jump right in. I want to say the first thing I want to talk about today is adapting to your surroundings and what you can and cannot control. Because here's the thing, like honestly, like no sugarcoating, some things we can't control, right? And the earlier that you understand that, the earlier that a lot of your frustration and anxiety can be pushed to the wayside because for the most part, we plan and God laughs. Is literally what the saying says, right? But it's true, like the universe does not listen to you and you alone. You are not the center of the universe. No matter what religion you are, no matter who you believe, what you believe in, whatever, like you're not the center of it all. Like you're not bigger than the plot. Like you're not big, like you're not bigger than the program. Like none of that matters. Like we're all part of the program, right? And a lot of times we try to like set everything up and make it go perfect, but that's not the case. And you can't control your environment and the timing of people and circumstances. And honestly speaking, fighting that reality wastes so much energy and time. And time is the one thing that none of us, no matter if you're rich, poor, a king or a queen, or somebody that's not born into royalty and going through humble beginnings, none of us can buy back time. So that's one of the things that I've learned that I just don't want to waste if I can help it. So adapting to your surroundings is very, very important. Currently, I just had a travel day. I just got off a ship. If you follow me online and everything, I was just teaching around the world on cruise ships and I just got off. And I had to adapt because I'm literally recording this podcast on hours of sleep as I've been on a plane. But that's because of the fact that I also like giving you guys some real raw podcast episodes every now and then. But the other reality of that is I had to switch laptops. I am on my brand new laptop today. This is my first time even using it, and that's because my old laptop died. And I've been pretty much holding my previous laptop together with shoestrings and bubble gum and making it work. But I've been having to adapt, and I think the biggest thing about that is like you cannot wait on a perfect timing. Like if I would have waited until I got back stateside in America with my new laptop until I did anything and just like wait. People don't wait on you. The perfect time does not exist. Like that is a complete myth. There's never a perfect time to do anything. You have to make the most of the time that you have. And when you do find things and they fall into place, you have to just lean into them. And I believe, sorry, I feel, I feel like when you think about perfect timing and things, like you push yourself back progression wise because the progress only happens when you start and you need to start to keep going. Like waiting usually just turns into avoiding and pretty much putting things off. So just do it. If you don't believe me, literally a the girl that just went viral, I'm so sorry. I don't can't think of her name or the top of my head, but she just made the commercial for Dr. Pepper and she put that jingle out. She didn't wait on the perfect timing. She didn't wait on perfect lighting. She didn't go to a studio and book it. She didn't record it in a, like hire a producer. She literally put it out. Dr. Pepper loved it. And now the rest is history. She's make millions of dollars doing a jingle. It's simply that important to understand that there's no such thing as the perfect timing. So a lot of times when we push things off, we're just pushing back maybe our destiny, maybe, the things that are meant for you, but you cannot wait. You have to adapt to whatever's going on. And honestly speaking, when people show up, people remember it. Like me putting out this episode today versus waiting like a couple of weeks to do all the episodes, it matters because of the fact that I want to make sure I'm consistent and I want to make sure that my voice gets out there and I want to make sure that I'm giving you, my listeners, weekly content, right? And you don't care if if I'm here, there, everywhere, or whatever. Like, and on the other side of that too, like most of the time, the things that we think about as being hard, like not good or something's wrong, the rest of the world doesn't even like get it or understand. Like it's in our head. We're our worst critic. You're your worst critic. So a lot of times you're holding yourself back for something that people won't even notice. It does not even matter. And it also makes you unique sometimes, because for me, I always want to make sure that I'm putting out me authentically and not polished and primed to the point where people don't realize that it's me. So that's the first thing we'll talk about. And we're going to jump right into some food topics here because, I've been trying to give you guys some behind the scenes a little bit, but also have some fun with the food side of things. And I thought this was a perfect time because as a personal chef, I get so many questions and adaptability is the perfect time to bring up some stories as well as some real answers to some questions that I get. And I would say, as a personal chef, and my personal chefs out there, you guys can definitely chime in on this. Adapting is like uh, easily 60% of the job. Because what you don't think about sometimes is that, let's say I cook for 4 clients in a week, which is normal. When I was doing 100% personal chef work, I was doing like 4 to 5 gigs a week because that's what you want as a working chef. Like, I mean, imagine you work 4 to 5 days out of the week. Most of us have to work 5 to 6 days out of the week to make a living. So yeah, like four to 5 gigs out of the week. That's 4 to 5 houses I'm going to. 4 to 5 different meals that I'm making, 4 to 5 different kitchens I'm cooking in, 4 to 5 different um, stoves and ovens and everything that I'm using. I have to adapt to all of those. There's no dry run, there's no test run when I'm going in your house most of the time. Now, if it's a huge event, I do that, like I do a tasting, I do a test. But for the most part, that's like maybe 10% of my business. And, other personal chefs might do that more than me. And I would say too, if I was back doing 100% personal chef work, I probably would up that a little bit because it does help in the long run if you're doing a lot of food. But let's just say my average house, we talk on the phone. I'm going to talk to you. I reached out, we talk to each other, we build the menu, we get everything together. I order the food, I prep in my ghost kitchen or depending on where I'm at. And then I show up to your house and I execute the rest of the food and I fire it at your house. And I am learning and adapting that entire time because I've never fully used your ovens. I never fully used your stove. I never fully used your kitchen in that sense. I do bring and provide a lot of my own utensils and cookware, but sometimes I also have to use the clients, and that also changes. Like it's just one of those things where you just have to adapt. And I mean, of course, I bring my own knives, but that's one thing I don't want to adapt to in the moment, just because of me. But yeah, you have to adapt to the house. You have to adapt to the clients as well. Because here's the other thing that people don't think about when you're cooking for a private or personal chef work is that I'm your restaurant. I'm everything. I'm the waiter, I'm your restaurant. I've gone through what the menu is gonna be. But 9 times out of 10, I have one person that I'm talking to. I've had plenty of times where let's say I'm doing a surprise dinner for a wife, and my point of contact is the husband, and he is doing everything he can do, being super romantic, thinking ahead, hiring a chef, blah blah. But he might not realize that his wife does love scallops, but when she likes scallops, she likes scallops to be medium rare, not well done. So it's my job as well to make sure I go over those things. I double check. When I'm talking to the guests, like you have to make sure that you are personable because you're front of the house, back of the house. You are the person in charge. Your name's on there. So like, communicate. Be ready to change from this to that. I've worked Oh my god, I tell you guys a story here. One of my few clients that I've ever had that I had a problem with, and they actually didn't even pay me. She didn't even finish her payment, which is just like one of those things where horror stories of being an entrepreneur. But she never finished her payment. She added on extra. She didn't finish payment, and she was mad at me because of the fact that her whole family, it was steak and lobster and potatoes and everything. It was like a regular, I feel like a very I won't say generic, but a very regular meal, but they wanted it well done. And by they, I mean the wife. The kids tasted the steak at medium and medium well and liked it, but she never cooked steak medium well. She wanted well done. And here's the thing: cooking a full 10-ounce New York strip all the way through is not a quick thing when you do not want to dry it out. There are ways to do it. My chefs out there, if you're listening, you're thinking of some that I'm not going to say right now. But when you're in a kitchen, an open kitchen with a family, and you're trying to make sure you keep your integrity intact, first off, because I wouldn't do some of those methods, and then also they want the steak intact, where I can't cut the steak and then cook it. There's only so many things you can do in a certain time frame. So eventually, it became one of those things where it was just taking so long, and it wasn't the best presentation on my part because I had to basically finish a meal, then restart a meal, then start the meal. And it's not like a real restaurant kitchen where I have hot plates or holders or heat lamps. Basically, at the end of the day, everyone ended up enjoying their food, loving the flavor. Her kids and family ended up realizing they do like steak that's not well done, but she was mad that I did not give her exactly what she wanted when she wanted it. And ultimately, I went against her word. Now, I know that I did what I thought was right, but unfortunately, the client didn't feel that way. Now, my side though, I still feel like she should have paid me because I did all the services. And yeah, that's the only client to this date that I ever had to fight and almost have to go to like legal action. But at the end of the day, the karma came back on them in a different way. So shout out to the universe. But yeah, adapting is so crucial in my field of work. It is so crucial. So if you are looking into being a personal chef, private chef, if you are hiring a personal chef, private chef, understand that being adaptable is like a very big part of it. All right. Let's get back into a little bit outside of the kitchen world and talk a little bit more. And we just talked about, like perfect timing doesn't exist. And I think that leads into what I want to hit on next, which is it's not about perfection, it's about perseverance. And I know that this is a controversial thing for a lot of people because they feel like no, it needs to be perfect. But I'm going to say something here. And it's that consistency beats talent. I'm sorry, but it does. We all know. that some people are very talented, but they're not consistent. So their talent is only so good as far as how consistent that they actually show up. Because showing up is literally all you have to do. Like, you can be flawless, but if you flawless in your execution, but you never show up, how am I supposed to know that? Like the confidence comes from repetition. And once you get the confidence that you need, you can show up the way you need to show up all the time. Like in the grand scheme of things, let's say that you are the best singer, the best dancer, the best chef, the best whatever that a company has to offer. But you also only come in once a month. Okay. Well, we also have the second best singer, the second best dancer, and the second best chef. And they show up every single day. Guess who actually is getting all of the looks and all of the bookings and everything? It's that second best chef because they're actually there. You are basically, the idea of you is great, but the reality is no one can count on you. So always remember that you need to show up. Like showing up really, really matters, guys. Like, please, please. Because I remember being in culinary school, my one of my professors told me that. And he was just like, you can literally be the best student here. But if you're the best student here today and then you don't show up and you're not good and you're not doing the stuff, like you're not the best student anymore. Like the idea of you is great, but the reality is you're not great. And this happens in every field. Like people will condemn you for not showing up in like the best light and everything, but like you showed up. Showing up is so, so important, man. Like I really do believe that. And you can be if you can be talented and consistent, oh my God, like that's how you can really succeed in life. And a lot of times, because the perception, especially with social media, is that everything happens overnight, you don't see the work that people put in. And that's how you know when somebody becomes successful, how they can really sustain that success and how they can really enhance it is because it's not new to them. They've already been doing it. Look at Kaylani. Kaylani had her breakout hit of her career so far last year with Folded. Now, if you know Kaylani before that, you probably can think of 5 to 6 other songs you thought was gonna be just as big, if not bigger. For me, it was Nights Like This. I liked like Nights Like This for me was like peak and I it's other songs also, but like I didn't even realize that she hadn't had that quote unquote success on Billboard and stuff until Folded dropped because I listened to her. But here's the thing. When that happened for Kaylani, Kaylani didn't waver. She can show up and sing live. She can show up and do the things right. She can actually write an album and keep going because she's always been showing up. Now, let's say that happens for somebody who is not prepared and they haven't been showing up and they haven't been basically doing the work and being consistent. That's gonna break you because now you're just like, "Oh my god, like I'm number 1 on Billboard." Like it's and so that's the difference. And I think when you think about longevity and you want your career to be something that's gonna be there forever for a long time, that's how you have to work. So showing up, do it. The last thing I want to talk about is if you can't adapt, you die. And I know it sounds super dramatic, but like it's so true, man. Like you can't do it. It's extreme, but it's true. Rigid people break when things change, and flexible people survive and grow. That's just how the world works. Like, and that's not even just in your professional life. You can think about that in your personal life as well. It's like if you're dating somebody or trying to date somebody and they feel like this is too much of a change for me and I cannot do it, then they are not growing. Like to grow, you have to learn how to change. Now it gets a little tricky. I feel like when you go into the dating world and personal life because you need boundaries as well. You shouldn't cross your boundaries and make yourself uncomfortable to quote unquote change for somebody. But what I'm saying is if you know that you have to adapt to a situation and you're not adapting to it, that's the change I'm talking about. So it's not like don't twist my words and say you're supposed to change or you but no. Adapting means like if you start something tomorrow and let's say we're supposed to be just casual, but now we both catch feelings. We're texting every day, we're thinking of each other all the time. Obviously, we're not doing a casual thing. We need to adapt to what this really is because the more we fight it, like it's not going to work. And I think that's the really big part about adapting in your professional life as well. Is like for me, I work on cruise ships. I've been working on ships for a long time. I took a break from cruise ships. I went back to cruise ships. I know that I am out of the country. I am on the go. I travel so much. I want to do other things. I do this podcast. I do my YouTube now. I do these things and like, but I cannot do it the quote unquote regular way because and I say quote unquote because what is the regular way? But like I'm gonna be out of the country or on the ship 8 months out of the year. So I can't just be like, "Oh, let me reshoot this and let me go to a kitchen and do it." No. So I have to adapt to what works for me, just like you have to adapt what works for you, and so on and so forth. So that's what I mean. Woo! All right. Think I said a lot there. Let's jump back into the kitchen. Let me take a break for a second. So, I talked about being a personal chef and adapting earlier in the first part of it. I did want to say outside of being personal chef, just in the kitchen in general, adapting really does broaden your horizons for food, in my opinion, but also broadens your skill set. So let's say that you're trying a new recipe this week. And actually, yeah, try a new recipe this week for everybody. Just try a new recipe. It gets you a little bit out of your comfort zone, gets you to like push the envelope a little bit. But the adapting part is relying on the technique. Let's say your go-to is I don't know. I always say something with pasta, but let's say your go-to is yeah, pasta's cool. Pasta or noodles. Either chicken Alfredo or beef noodles. I know somebody that makes a lot of beef noodles, so I'm not trying to make fun of them, but it's actually good. Is that it actually I like to make beef noodles. But let's just say that your go-to is that. It's not a lot you can adapt, right? But you can adapt or you can change or you can switch it out where like you got the noodles down, that's your base and that's your technique of how you cook your noodles. You can add vegetables, but you can also add a different protein. So now you can do that same technique with prawns. You can do that same technique with chicken. You do the same technique with pork belly. That's what I mean. So like having the ability to fall back on the technical side of it and the actual technique is so crucial. Because here's the reality. Most of the time, I know for me, I don't have every single ingredient when I want to do a recipe if I'm trying something new. So when people ask me, because they ask me all the time, especially during class, oh, what about this? What about this? I quickly shut people down, but not to diminish their like I don't want you to stop dreaming and like pushing the envelope. I just want you to grasp the technique first. Because here's the thing. If I teach you how to cook this fish, let's say we're making a pan-seared sole fillet. So if we're flouring the fish and then I teach you what to do and like why we're doing this and the sauce, blah, blah. Now when you say, "Oh, well, what if I cook this with flounder? What if I do this?" I can say yes. And do you remember the steps we did with the soul? And now you can say yes. And now I feel comfortable with you changing out the ingredient versus you just changing stuff because you just changing stuff. So it's like adapting is when you know the technique, you know exactly why you're doing it, you know what everything, like how everything plays a major part. And now you are applying it to what you have to use. That's different from just swapping stuff out. So I want you to get in the habit of doing that. So this week, my my I guess I would say I won't say homework. But yeah, maybe homework. Let's say homework for everybody that listens and cooks and does things is that try out a new recipe or try out a recipe that you do a lot with a different protein or a different vegetable or something different, different sauce, and see how you like it. Now, here's the thing. You might not like it, but that's all like that's part of the fun of cooking to me because that's how you get to know what you like and that's how you get to know like how good your skills are and like that's how you push it a little bit. So, let's adapt to some different recipes and technique and keeping the techniques, but different ingredients this week. All right, guys. So now that you have homework, I never give out homework, so that's actually pretty cool. Now that you have homework and everything, I would say that we're gonna wrap this episode up just saying that adapting is something that we as humans can do, but some of us are better at it than others. But throughout my life, especially, like adapting has definitely helped me so much. I get so many questions about working on cruise ships, and I get it because not a lot of people work on cruise ships. Not a lot of Americans work on cruise ships. Not a lot of black guys work on cruise ships. Not a lot of people. Like I'm already in a very small percentage of people, and then like when I add everything else into it, it's even smaller. So I totally get the interest in it, and I love talking about it. I'm actually gonna go live on my YouTube probably next week, so look out for that to talk about some Q&As and talk about working on ships and stuff. But I say that to say because working on ships has really made me a better person to adapt to different things because you always have to adapt, especially run out of ingredients. You know, what if you're doing a crossing 6 days at sea? I can't stop at Walmart. I can't go get something else. Like I have to adapt to whatever we have. Um, you know, it's the middle of the day and God forbid there's a man overboard. We've had training. I have to adapt for the situation. I got to go do what I was trained to do. So you're just always ready to adapt to the situation and pivot to whatever you need, and it makes you super flexible and able to really see what's important and understand what you need to do to make sure that you are treating the situation with the highest importance with the utensils and tools that you have. And that's no pun intended, but yes, that also goes for the kitchen. So, yeah, today's lesson is just adapt, man. Adapt. So, I hope that everybody got a good lesson out of today and you learned something or it made you do an aha moment. And don't forget the homework because I do want everybody to go and cook some things and change some stuff around. Don't forget that every single week we are back with more episodes. We also have something really, really cool coming very soon. Little drum roll. It's gonna be on the YouTube front. You know, I'm pushing the YouTube this whole year. I'm having so much fun with YouTube. Honestly, I was a little nervous, but I'm having so much fun with it, but it won't affect the weekly podcast episodes that come out. So if you stream, then it's totally gonna stay the same. But if you want to add something to your streaming, you can go over to YouTube and check stuff out. Also, I do want to send a special shout out to everybody that stuck around. I know for 3 weeks my podcast was down. I had to switch podcast host, and we are now with a new host who it has been amazing. It's basically like I had to get out of a contract with a record label that was like that pretty much like messed me up and took everything down, and now I'm with another one, and I just am very thankful that I didn't have to start all the way back over. And I'm very thankful that you guys stuck in there with me. And for people that went over to YouTube, because I was still dropping weekly episodes on YouTube. For those of you that went over to YouTube, a special thanks because you probably went to a platform that you never really even listened to me on and listened to me. So I just really appreciate it. And I will see you next week with a brand new episode. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Cooking Your Way Through Life with Chef Hollywood.